All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 6:30. As chair of the Guilford Select Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by Governor Scott, a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and pursuant to Addendum 6 to Executive Order 01-20 and Act 92, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. In accordance with Act 92, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the temporary amendments to the open meeting law, I confirm the following four matters. One, we are providing public access to the meeting by video conferencing with additional access offered through telephone. We are using Google Meet for this remote meeting. All members of the Guilford Select Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if desired, participate in this meeting by the following. To join the meeting, please go to https://meet.google.com/amt-pbdy-tab or call this number 617-675-4444 and punch in the PIN number 247-788-024-7336 pound. 2, providing public notice of instructions for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using the telephone and the video conferencing line. And we have also posted this information on Guilford, the town of Guilford's website, guilfordvermont.net. 3, we have provided a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody does have a problem, please telephone 603-558-0891. And lastly, we will continue the meeting if necessary. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. Please note that we take the roll during this meeting of all of our Select Board members. And let's start the meeting by taking a roll call of the Select Board. Rusty Marine.
Here.
Zon Eastus.
Here.
Miranda Porch. You're muted.
Present.
Okay, Michael Becker.
Here.
Richard Wazansky here. Thank you very much. And I'd like to recognize the public. I see welcome public, Joanne, Laura, and Don. Thank you for joining us this evening. The rules of procedure, we do have rules of, Peter, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Richard, you've got someone on the phone. I'm not sure who that is.
Jamie from the Brattleboro Community Center.
Hi, Jamie.
Oh, Jamie, hi. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
Don, did I call you in the attendance role? Yes, I did. Okay, thanks. Very good. The rules of procedure, which our town administrator, Peter, has in front of him, are govern the way that the public and the Select Board interact, and the emphasis on that is with civility. But if there is a question of speaking with the Select Board or asking questions and we don't know how to do that, Peter will be glad to help us out on that. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I do not have any, Richard.
I do. I would like to add an update about the highway crew and our quarantine business with them. I think that the Select Board should hear about my conversation with the highway crew. So we can do that, yes?
Well, that's technically a personnel matter and should not be discussed openly, Richard.
Oh, okay. So, well, let's forget it then. I will, yeah, you're absolutely right. I will talk to the Select Board members individually about that. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
I do not have any either.
Very good. I'm sure that we've all read the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Please remember that we need a motion to approve 2 sets of minutes, one from the regular meeting of 9th of November and the second for the emergency meeting of 17th of November.
I will take a motion for approving the first select board.
I
meeting,
will make that
a
motion.
regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Thanks, Rusty. Is there any discussion or questions in regard to that motion? I shall take the roll then. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now on to the minutes of the emergency select board meeting. Now, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I do.
Thank you, Veranda. Do I have a second? Thank you, Zahn. Are there any discussion regarding those minutes or the approval thereof? All right, I shall take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, now we're on to new business and the BBC partnership agreement. We have about 5 minutes for that discussion. Who's going to take the ball? You're on mute, Don.
Hello, I'm on mute. I'm Don, and I'm now the president of the Brattleboro Community Center.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. And so my role here tonight is merely to say hello and say that we're glad to be here and to introduce the other two people who are with me. One of whom is Jamie Durham, our administrative manager, and she's here by phone due to her touchy internet connection.
Hi, Jamie.
That's Jamie.
Hi.
And also Laura Lawson-Tucker, whom some of you probably know, who is on our Programs and Partnerships Committee, and she's representing the committee which met a while back to talk about the various partnerships that we have. And she's going to, both of them are going to speak to the town partnership. So I'll turn it directly over to Jamie.
Sure. Thanks, Dawn. So we're here to talk about the partnership agreement for fiscal year 2022. I know you just signed the 2021 agreement, and we're very grateful for that's our second year agreement. So it's nice to have that signed, and we also just got the fee. So thanks very much for that. We really appreciate the support of the town. And it's exciting to think about going into the third year of this partnership, especially for next year, because we are in final discussions with the builders to move forward with construction in 2021, and everything is looking very bright for the future and for next year. We're in the middle of this huge campaign fundraising push, which you've probably started to hear about, and if you haven't, you will. So we're really looking forward to the future, and you know, we're really appreciative of the support that the town's given so far. And I do have the 2021 agreement here in front of me, so if there are any questions about that as Laura talks, just let me know. And I'll just turn it over to her to chat more about next year's agreement.
Hi. So I'm here to talk about program and partnership and how much we value the town's partnership with the Brattleboro Community Center. Really, it's with our partnership with you that you're helping us have a stable future and helping us build our town's community center. So we value our partnership with the town so very much. And this is a strange year, not even just about COVID, but because of our final push with very large renovations. Building usage will be minimal from the public. And however, we feel very strongly that this is now a time more than ever that we need our partners to maintain their level of commitment to us so we can position ourselves to be available and sturdy and sustainable as a community center for many generations to come. So I'm here to invite you to encourage you to maintain your same level of commitment to us, and also to express we really value the partnership we have with the town. We're very excited for what the future holds. It's been a long time coming from that first vision to all the fundraising and now this final very large renovations with elevator and so forth. So we're really setting up the community center to be fully accessible. and it's very exciting. But we need you. And
So
I'm here to encourage-
is your draft agreement asking the town for level funding of of the partnership? Uh-huh.
Yes.
And you
Yep.
know that we're in the midst of our budget discussions, and we haven't got to that part of the budget yet. But we will discuss it, of course, when Peter will present to us the draft agreement,
Yep.
the draft partnership agreement.
Good. So I think my main point is we have the long view, and the long view is after COVID and after our renovations, and we're picturing a very active community center. So we welcome your full participation as we get through this weird, unusual time.
Right. And this would be starting on July of 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is
Okay. Anything else? Any comments or questions from the members of the select board?
Well, I have a comment.
Yes.
I had the pleasure of sitting in on the Leadership Council's meeting, the Guilford School Leadership Council, and hearing about their partnership, evolving partnership with BBCC. And I'm also in conversation, we're planning a conversation with Jamie and Sarah Coffey about how we can do some virtual interviews with interesting Guilfordites while we're still in COVID lockdown, and also during time that the BBCC will be under construction. So I don't think BBCC will be absent from town activities even when there's work going on.
Thank you, Miranda. Anyone else have a comment? Zon?
I have one comment. This is Jamie about the existing partnership agreement.
Yep.
That I wanted to mention that the food pantry is operating out of the building on Thursdays, as you know, and because of the pandemic, they're operating out of the parking lot.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to make a note, because the town does plow that for us, that on Thursdays, it's like a high traffic area on Thursdays. So I'm going to be paying really close attention to that lot and the ramp, and if the town could sort of help out making sure that lot is ready to go on Thursdays.
Great. Thank you for that notification. Anything else? Well, thank you very much, BBCC. We know that you're a great asset to our community, and we wish you, at least I do anyway, great success in getting the building finished and having it a wonderful, busy community asset.
Thank you. And thank you for your time tonight.
Yes,
We really
thank you for
appreciate it.
coming.
Yep.
All right.
And
Thank
Peter,
you.
I'll follow up. I'll send you a draft partnership agreement, Peter.
That sounds great, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yes,
Thanks.
you're welcome to stay or to leave. We're
Thank
moving
you.
on with our agenda.
I forgot
On
to
to
have
Senior
stuff.
Solutions. Is that Joanne? You're muted again, Joanne.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here tonight. Also, we are just asking for level funding.
Mhm.
Nothing new as far as that goes. Just want to let you know some of the programs that we are working on, so that your community knows to call our helpline, which is 802-885-2669, with any questions regarding Medicare, Medicaid, fuel assistance, 3 squares, Meals on Wheels applications, any kind of issue they have. Like, there's a big problem now because of COVID that we were dealing with already before, but now it's exacerbated, and that's loneliness.
Mm.
So many of our Windham and Windsor County clients and population are living in both environmental isolation and social isolation. What do we do about it? How do we help them? We know at Senior Solutions that there are many local care groups in every community that do yeoman's work helping their neighbors. They can also call on us. If they run out of resources, they can call us and we'll help support them. We'll find resources. We'll help sign people up for assistance, whatever they need. And one of the things I always want to tell people, our aging Vermonters are among the proudest and the most private people I know. And the assistance that we can deliver to them is not charity. We are funded through the federal government and the Older Americans Act. This is special money that is put aside by the government in recognition that people who've retired many, many years ago and planned for their financial future. That money doesn't go as far as it did 30 years ago. And to help compensate them and keep at least a minimal standard of living, the government encourages people over 60 to apply for these benefits. And we're working with the National Council on Aging for a benefits enrollment center. So we have access to even more than what we normally could provide through the state funding and things like that. So please encourage your community to call and ask us.
Joanne, do you know how many Guilford residents take advantage of are served by seniors?
Not enough, but I'll tell you how many for each program. Right now, we this past year, which was from, the date is from like July to September, okay, for the year, September to July, really. So that is 84 of Guilford residents called the helpline and either got help from the helpline or were provided with an answer, a resource, or a case manager to help them fill out applications for things they need. We also had 41 residents of Guilford work with our Medicare assistance specialist. And right now, you probably know, of course, we're right in the middle of open enrollment, which is from October 15th to December 7th. So December 7th is creeping up on us. This is free, no obligation. We don't sell anything. We don't want to do anything but help people figure out what is their most economical and their best medical and prescription plans. And our specialist is Patty. She knows Medicare inside and out. She's been doing it for years, and she's excellent. We had 10 people enrolled in the home delivered meal service, which is Meals on Wheels. We don't serve Meals on Wheels. We don't cook it. We don't do any of the heavy work, but we do receive the funds through the state to distribute to the various food providers. Right now, Brattleboro Senior Meals delivers, I think, most of the meals to your area. Sometimes there are congregate meal sites at churches or town offices. They do a wonderful job. What we can do, we're always lobbying to get more money from the federal government so that we have more to pass along. But also, we have a contract, so we're obligated to provide a licensed registered dietitian who looks at the menus. Better than that, if we have people who are signed up for Meals on Wheels, they could call our helpline and set up an appointment, a one-on-one consultation with the dietitian. Everybody's got certain allergies or food problems, and the dietitian would be able to work with them and help them figure out what to eat, what not to eat, how to cook this. You know, it's a wonderful resource, and it's absolutely free. We have 3 residents in Guilford who are receiving our visitor services. Now, this was a program that we have with senior companions, friendly visitors, and our favorite vet-to-vet program that we started with the Brattleboro American Legion, and it's grown exponentially. This is an extension of the buddy system from the armed forces. They have each other's back, and this is a way that a mobile veteran can helps a veteran who is no longer able maybe to drive or has physical limitations and can't really do too much else. They work together, they go places together, it's a real buddy system. And we were able to change the services during COVID because many of our volunteers were in the vulnerable age bracket. And so we've adapted many of the services to shopping and pick up and drop off or outdoor activities. Now that it's getting cold, we're rethinking again, how can we keep people communicating and in touch? There's always the telephone, which our volunteers are excellent at keeping in touch with their participants. But this is great, and it really helps the health of the person who's being visited, and it also helps the volunteers because it raises their self-esteem, which impacts their health too. Let's see, visitors. Oh, we have...
We have to be wrapping up soon, Joanne.
Okay, I'll talk faster.
Yeah.
We have 13 Guilford residents who have received this year case management and in-home care. So this is an important piece of what we do because we don't provide we don't help people get dressed and stuff like that, but we oversee their care and we make sure that they're getting what they need and keep checking in on them to find what else do you need. We have also special services available. Nobody took advantage from Guilford. There are so many needs that are not pigeonholed under certain programs. Call us anyway. We can probably help. I know that one of our Brattleboro case managers managed to get a recliner for one of the clients. So, don't not ask, okay? We also do a Brattleboro community television program. We do at least one a month, and we try to update, bring new things, and interview people. We have the Home Meds program, which is free, no obligation, to find out what prescription over-the-counter, home remedies, and all other things people are taking. We review it, and we send it to our geriatric pharmacist, who will verify the findings and contact the individual's primary care physician. They don't even have to be a client of Senior Solution, just have to be 60 years old and live in Windsor County or Windham County, and absolutely free. We have other things too, but I think I've covered the high points, maybe.
And it sounds like there are quite a few. It sounds like there are quite a few Guilford residents who are taking advantage of Senior Solutions, and I'm sure that the select board is very happy to hear about that. And we thank you for providing these services to our elders in our town.
Well, it's important to us too, and we'd be happy if we served a lot more. So send them to us.
We will. Miranda, did you have a question or comment?
I just have a comment in that it's not just seniors who are covered by this. My daughter, who is eligible for Choices for Care, has a wonderful case manager from Senior Solutions. So,
oh, good.
Thank you for letting us know that. Anyone else on the select board have any comments or questions for Joanne?
Can I just say thank you for letting us have Richard Davis as part of our advisory council?
He's great. You're lucky.
I know we are. We're very lucky.
Well, if there's no other questions, I want to just thank you, Joanna. You're welcome to stay with us, or we'll say goodbye.
Well, thank you. I'd love to stay, but I probably won't be very helpful for, town road management.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne.
Bye.
Bye. And someone has joined us on the phone. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Good evening. This is Beth Bristol and Jared Bristol from the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
Thanks
for being with us. And speaking of which, you're up next.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Impeccable. Well, thanks for putting us on the agenda this evening. We wanted to touch base with you all as we are in the process of preparing our fiscal year 21 budget. And I know last town meeting, there was a motion from the floor to amend our budget and add an additional $35,000 to a capital improvement fund. And we wanted to touch base with the select board and just figure out how that line item would be budgeted this coming fiscal year to make sure that we did it appropriately.
Peter, do you want to speak to that?
I mean, technically that was a one-time increase from the floor to your budget. So the best way to approach it moving forward would be, if you feel that's something that you would like to continue seeing, would be to add that to your budget request to the select board for the upcoming fiscal year, and then the select board would review that. The select board does have the option, if they feel it necessary, that they could make that a separate article if they believe that that's something that they want town residents to make a decision on versus themselves. They do have that right and ability to do that. Does that make sense?
It sure does. And just to remind everybody, this is the line item that was paying the note for the construction loan on the fire station. And so once that note was up, the trustees thought it was in the best interest of the town and the fire department to keep that funding going and into a capital fund, so that as we needed to make additional building improvements, we had those funds available. And since it was already in the budget, it seemed like the right thing to do to keep it going. So we will certainly add it in there as a separate line item into our budget. And then the follow-up question to that is, this year, we noticed it was not part of our town appropriation. So we just wanted to inquire how, if we were to access those funds for building improvements, how to do that, or what the plan was.
So what happened at town meeting day is that there was a recommendation to put that in a separate capital fund account within the town itself, and then the trustees of the fire department, when they were ready to use those funds, would make a request to the select board to disperse those funds, and then it would be the responsibility of the select board to disperse those funds. And then once they give that authorization, then the treasurer could disperse those funds to the fire department. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. In fact, would it then make more sense for the select board to have that as a line item in their budget rather than the fire department?
Well,
that would be another.
It is in the select board's capital budget, isn't it? Under in a line item for the capital. No. It has not been. Well, where did it go in? Where did it go in the current fiscal year? Where was it designated?
It was taken out and then it was added from the floor.
Correct. So their capital. Go ahead, Richard.
I said it was added to the budget then.
Correct. It was added to the overall fire department budget is where it was added in. It was not added to the town's capital budget.
I see. Okay. And so are we talking about doing in the future, if there was a request to do that and if it were approved, that we would add it to the town's capital budget? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I guess if it was added to the fire department's capital budget for this current fiscal year, then we would have expected to receive that as part of our town appropriation. So we were under the impression that it was being added to the town's capital plan, which was earmarked for the fire department, which makes sense to us. But if that's the case, then I guess our request tonight would be that it be added in again by the town. Or if you'd rather us put it in our budget, we're happy to do that. We just wanted to do whatever made the most sense and would work out best for you all.
Okay. I'm just a little confused because in the transcript of the town meeting, it says that Sheila Morse suggested that it would be added to the town's capital budget because we already have a capital budget and it would be designated as GVFD funds. So, so I guess that never happened.
It sounds like it did because we didn't receive the money. So it sounds like that the town still has it. And I'm assuming it would be in that capital budget. So that's great. If that's the plan, then would it make more sense for you to include it in your capital budget for fiscal year 21?
I think we'd have to discuss that at some point during our budget. Can we? Would it be a good time to discuss that at one of our budget sessions?
Certainly would.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Richard, I mean, I think that's certainly an appropriate place for it to be discussed is at the budget meeting when we get to that point. I do think that from my understanding of the minutes of the meeting, as well as being present there and this discussion, I do think it would be most appropriate to include it for the upcoming fiscal year in the town's capital plan. I think it makes the most sense.
And that's what we have. That's what I'm suggesting that we discuss.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay.
It sure does. We just wanted to make sure that it didn't get dropped again, and that line item, because it's really important to the fire department. So if it was not going to be included in the town budget, then we would include it into ours. We just didn't want it to get omitted.
Okay, well, we'll let you know what our budget discussion and the budget discussion are happening in the next several weeks. So we'll let you know if the select board has decided to put it into the town's capital budget.
Okay, Peter, should I hold off on sending you our budget until after that discussion?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I realize you're trying to finish your budget at your meeting. What is it, next week is what Steve told me?
Yeah, it's the first Monday of December, but our deadline is really revolves around you. So if you can wait, we certainly can wait. It's ready to go from our end unless we need to add this line item in.
Okay, so then why don't you just wait to send it to me and I'll be in touch with you after the select board has their discussion on the topic.
And we'll bring it up on the next budget meeting, but just coming up in not too
next
long.
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Okay. If you'd like to have any of us from the fire department there to speak to it, we're happy to do so.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Sorry,
Take care.
did you have a question or a comment for the fire department?
No, I really want to understand that at the select board meeting, the idea was that there was this $35,000 that would then be forwarded to the capital budget for the next year. The idea of that would be forwarded into this next budget. And that's already been approved by the town. So it's a matter of where it belongs that's the question we're talking about here.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I see. Okay. And so then in the following year, if it's to be a continuation, then we would make the decision. Where it's going now would probably become the practice for where it's going to go the following.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Good night. Thank
Thanks.
you.
I just had a news flash. But this is not select board business, but Emily Murphy has decided to sign the ascertainment of who the president-elect is.
Oh, fantastic.
All right, moving right on. Annual fund transfers.
Yes, I'm guessing you're handing that over to me, Richard. Every year after the collection of taxes, the select board needs to approve some adjusting journal entries within our accounting system in order to transfer funds to the appropriate accounts that were approved by voters at the previous town meeting. Generally, when we make adjusting journal entries, we don't need select board approval to do that. We make them within the office, and we have a process and a procedure for doing that for accountability purposes. However, due to the large sums of money involved with this budget transfer, the select board is generally notified and requested to approve these transfers. So the first one is a transfer of $24,880 to pay for our social service agencies, for example, like Senior Solutions. The second one is to cover transfers out in special articles. That makes up things such as the capital plan that we were just discussing for the town side of things. That also covers the fire department and a few other smaller expenses within that line item. And that is $543,491 was approved by voters. And last but not least is to cover our annual highway fund expenses for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $874,461.
Do I have a motion to approve those transfers? Zahn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Veranda was first. Is there any discussion or questions about those transfers, which are our standard operating procedure? Okay, there being no discussion, I shall take the roll. Rusty? Zahn?
Aye.
Veranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, on to updates of the dog ordinance. Peter, you had a couple of those. We also want to talk about the specific dog incident. You're on mute, Peter.
My apologies. I had a dog barking in the background here.
So I hear.
So from a discussion with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, we had several recommendations to make some minor edits to the dog ordinance that the select board updated this past spring. The first one would be under Section 7, Part A, a vicious dog. Third offense, the select board had elected to put a fine of $1,000 for the third offense. Unfortunately, state statute 20 VSA 3550 Part E, Section 1 states that cannot exceed $500 per incident. So we need to
Michael, they're
adjust.
striking us down.
The second edit. The second edit is Section 9, Part A, and it should be amended to state when a dog has bitten a person unprovoked and off the premises of its owners. It currently states on or off the premises of the owners. 20 VSA 3546 Part C clearly states off premises of its owners.
Do we need a motion to accept those changes?
Yes, and I have one more change.
Okay.
The final change is Section 9, Part B, investigation and hearing. There's one sentence should be removed and it should be replaced with a little bit of several sentences. The one that should be removed is they will hold a hearing on the matter if warranted. That should be replaced with a hearing will be held if all of the following conditions are met. A dog has bitten a person and the dog is off the premises of its owner or keeper, and the person bitten requires medical attention for the attack, and the person bitten has filed a written complaint with the select board or its designee. As it was written previously, it was in contradiction to 20 VSA 3546 Part B.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I'm glad that we were able to make those corrections. If the select board motions that we will approve those and second it. Do I have a motion to do that, or is there any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes.
It's not that I have an objection to these. It's just a process question. We can't keep our old ordinance if the state, so to speak, trumps our ordinance, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay, well, I move that we accept those changes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rusty, thank you very much. Is there any further discussion or questions? Okay, I shall take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Okay, the motion, Richard, aye, the motion carries unanimously. So relative to these changes in the dog policy, as you recall, we voted unanimously to have a hearing regarding the dog bite where the two folks came to talk to us about the dog bite and told us there were actually three townspeople to discuss that dog bite where the dog was off the property and bit the child, but the child did not require medical attention. Therefore, if you were listening closely, you would see that we only have a hearing if the person being bitten required medical attention. The child did not require medical attention, and therefore we do not need to have a hearing, and therefore we need to decide how to proceed without a hearing. And I have some suggestions, but I just want to know if you are all following my train of thought here. So there was no medical attention, therefore the hearing is not necessary, which I would say is just as well for us because it's a very complex, it's like a trial that we would have to have. My suggestion would be to write a letter to Tasha and Matthew and I can't remember her name, Alicia, the people who were involved in the dog bite, and tell them that we're taking that we've rescinded our vote to have a hearing because of the ordinance changes, but that we would like to, and I want your opinions about this if you would be so gracious, is to send a letter to the owner of the dog to say that we understand the dog was off the property, that there was a dog bite, but it didn't require medical attention, that a person holding on to the dog had a broken finger, and that and the dog is not licensed, so that goes under our ordinance for unlicensed dog, which would be for the first offense a warning to the dog owner. Secondly, the dog, according to our ordinances, was running at large, and the first offense for that would be $25 or a waiver of $15. And thirdly, the dog is a potentially vicious dog, which is a $100 fine, but can be waived for $75. So my recommendation would be to the board, and it's only a recommendation, would be that we write this letter to the dog owner, we copy the other folks who were involved in this incident, and we also run the letter that we're going to send to the dog owner through our council, through the town's council, just to make sure that we're being legal. And that we also would rescind by vote our vote to have a hearing. So those are the things that I would ask for, and I'm interested to know whether you think I'm crazy or whether that sounds like a kind of solution.
I have a question. Can you remind me, Richard, in order for the waiver to go into effect, which is effectively a reduction, what needs to be done?
Peter, do you understand that process? Because I don't understand it fully.
Same here.
You're on mute, Peter.
I apologize. I didn't quite catch what Michael was saying. I was trying to
Michael asked
write down.
It's sort of structured so that there's a waiver that can potentially be applied, but it's not we're not waiving the entire penalty.
And so basically what a waiver is pleading no contest. Is basically what it comes down to. So, that's the simplest way of describing it.
So I would say then if the folks didn't want to do the waiver, then they would contest the full penalty, let's say of $100. That makes it a civil matter, and we'd have to. Okay. Right.
And then we have to go through the Vermont judicial system.
Right. And so we would make that clear in our letter to them that we are offering them the waiver, the no contest. But if they don't accept that and they want to contest it, then we have to bring the judicial system into the process.
Yes, that is correct, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Now another question. there were two people that were potentially harmed by this dog. So we talked about the child who did not require medical attention.
Right.
And I'm a little unclear, the person with the broken finger, did the dog cause the broken finger?
From what I understand, the visiting mother, this Alex, who got the broken finger, the dog was apparently lunging at a child, I believe, and that she grabbed the dog's collar to try to protect the child and move the dog off the property, and the dog, in its agitation, rolled over or something, and her finger was broken. And I believe that all of the parties involved understood that the dog, or her attempt to remove the dog, caused that break.
So
Is
the
that your
penalty for
understanding?
the penalty for that would sort of come under all the penalties that we've been discussing, particularly the potential vicious dog fine, that we would add that into the evidence of why we would be levying that fine.
Anything else they wanted to do would be civil, correct?
Right.
I think that we ought to, put together the points that would go into the letter and run them by our legal advisor, before we constructed the letter finally and sent it. I also have great regret that this has escalated into a neighbor-to-neighbor affair. I mean, difficulty that's resulting in Tasha and her husband wanting to move out of the neighborhood. And I realize it's not under the purview of the select board to minister to neighbors who can't get along. But I do believe that in our letter, it would be nice just to have some indication of taking care of this problem and hoping that peace can be restored. I mean, that's my strong feeling.
Okay, but I think it's going to have to be a little more objective than that. But maybe we can finesse it to have something like that in there. I would ask Peter to draft this letter, and if you want help, Peter, I would be glad to do it. If the select board wants to do this, I don't want to push you into something that you don't want to do. So I suppose the first question is, do I have a motion? Would someone be willing to make a motion and second the motion to rescind the vote that we took to have a hearing?
Richard, you can legally make the motion.
I shall so move.
I second.
Thank you, Veranda. Is there any discussion or comment about that? Okay, on that motion, then I shall take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn? Veranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. So we have, so the motion has been unanimously approved that the select board has rescinded its motion of, and the date should be in there when we made that decision to rescind that hearing. Now, the next motion would be to, and I can make this motion, Peter?
Yes, you may legally, as chair, make the motion. You do not need to request it of someone else.
Is to write a letter to the dog owners and to copy the parties involved in the dog bite, which outlines what the penalty, what the situation is, and what the penalties would be, and what the opportunities are for the waiver. And to also to describe in that letter that if they don't take the waiver, that means that and they want to contest the penalty, that means that it goes to court. So that's my motion. Do I have a second?
Well, second.
Thank you. Thank you, Rusty. Is there any discussion or comment?
I'd be interested in reading the letter.
Yes, we can share the draft with whoever wants it. Does anybody else want to? Do all the select board members want to see the letter?
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay, so we will send you the draft. Is there any further discussion? Then let me take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Richard, aye. Thank you very much. Richard said aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I think
Richard,
that-
just one
Oh,
brief,
go- please.
just one brief item is just as FYI, the town does not have an attorney on retainer, so we will need to figure out who we would like to provide these legal services for the town. If you wish, that's something we can talk about offline,
We can
Richard.
talk about that offline. Yeah. And Pat
Okay, but
Bowe
I
is
just,
not
I just
on?
wanted the select board to know that we don't have an attorney on
Okay, thank
retainer at the
you.
moment.
That's a good, thank you for that information. Okay, on to happier news. The bike pedestrian grant.
Yes, this is wonderful news. I was notified last Thursday that the town of Guilford received the grant that we applied for to conduct the scoping study in Guilford Center Village about the possibility of or how realistic it would be to provide or create additional spaces along Guilford Center Road for bicyclists and pedestrians to increase safety between the residences and the village center. Obviously, particularly with COVID-19, our library is a very popular place, but with COVID-19, it has obviously gained in popularity for a multitude of reasons. And so this is really great news. And it'll be a little bit of a lengthy process. The next step will be working on a grant agreement, and then a few other steps before we can actually put out an RFP to hire a contractor.
Fantastic. And you remember that we had to decide whether we were going to go for Algiers or Guilford Center Village. And this was written by basically with Peter's help, I believe, but written by a town resident. So I think that that's good news.
Yeah, I just wanted to publicly thank Chris Beebe for his assistance in this project and pushing for it to be switched to Guilford Center Village. It was really his work, and so I want to thank him publicly for that.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, on to your update on.
Tell me what, I have a question.
Yes, please.
What is the scope on the Guilford Center Road of creating, the vision of creating the bike lane? Is it just through Algiersville? Guilford Center Village, or does it continue along, let's say, toward the Hollow Road?
No, it does not. So it's from Guilford Center Village for 0.9 miles down towards the Y, where you have Stage Road and Sweet Pond Road splitting.
Okay.
Remember that Chris talked about kids walking at that part of the road.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
And if you wish, I'm happy to share the grant application so you can read the details if you didn't get to see that veranda.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? On to the COVID update.
What's the next milestone or time or deadline? Do we know?
The next step is getting a grant agreement in place. I do not know at this time what the timeline for that is. For other similar type grants that I've received on behalf of the town in the past, it can take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks to get that grant agreement from the state. Once that is finalized and approved by both parties, then the next step would be the state generally has a series of requirements that the town has to fulfill before next actions can be taken, and that is outlined in the grant agreement. And then once those conditions are met, then we can put out an RFP. So it will probably be, given that we're coming up on a multitude of holidays over the next week and month, my guess is realistically February before we actually will be able to start taking action on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Peter, your update, and most you can make this kind of brief because most of us have been reading a lot about COVID in Vermont and
Yeah. I actually had prepared a fairly extensive update, but given how much there's been in the press
Yeah.
over the past week, basically I just wanted to reiterate. So in the past week, Governor Scott has made 2 amendments to his executive order, further strengthening previous actions that he had taken on the 5th of June. So the state is now prohibiting all social gatherings. Under this order, you're not allowed to gather with anyone with whom you do not live, including inside, outdoors, for social, recreational, or entertainment purposes in public or private spaces. The only exception to this is for individuals who live alone. You may gather with members of your immediate family only. The only other exception to this rule is people may take in and shelter those from another household who are in a dangerous, unhealthy, or are unsafe situation. Last but not least, outdoor fitness activities are now restricted to only 2 individuals if you are from separate households. And during that time, you must remain a minimum of 6 feet apart and wear a mask at all times, whether
Randy,
biking,
you and I
hiking,
could take a walk.
whether biking, hiking, walking, or running with your neighbor. Unfortunately, Vermont is seeing record cases almost daily. Unfortunately, I have the sad news to say that Vermont has had its 3 newest deaths in the past week due to COVID. So again, stay at home. The state is also strongly advising folks not to travel even within Vermont, and that includes traveling to see family. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Peter. It's a sad situation, but it's I would say it's necessary. Okay, on to the warrants. Who's doing those tonight?
Oh, I am doing the warrants, but I need to get them.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I was so engaged with our meeting that I don't have them right.
It's a very engaging meeting, don't you think?
Yes, it was. I'm just looking for my warrants. So
Would you like me to read them out?
yes, why don't you do it? Can I move it and you can read them?
Let me read them, and then if you agree with how they were read, then you can make the motion.
Okay, I'm terribly sorry.
That's all right, Veranda.
It's okay, Veranda.
You were engaged.
So it's payroll week ending November 15th, 2020 in the amount of $6,116.53. Payroll week ending November 22nd, 2020 in the amount of $11,657.33. Expense warrant 2010 in the amount of $64,422.22. And lastly, expense warrant FW10 in the amount of $150.50 for a grand total of $82,346.58.
Brenda, do you want to move
I move
that?
that we pay the warrants read by our town administrator.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Peter, do you want to explain to us what the $64,000 question is?
Sure. The majority of that, here I was just bringing up, was our quarterly health insurance payment of $5,500. There was a purchase of sand and gravel for just over $1,000. And then there was a payment of $49,898 to pay for the new roof on the garage, which if you haven't seen it, it looks beautiful.
Right. I have to go look at it. Thank you very much. So we have had a motion to accept it, and we've had a second, and we've had discussion. I shall take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zons?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Hey,
Richard? Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Peter, any communications this last 2 weeks?
Yes, we had 2 very brief, I'm not going to read them, but we had 2 very brief thank you notes from the MOOver, which was formerly known as Connecticut River Transit. as well as from Visiting Nurse and Hospice Association, thanking the Select Board and the town for the generous donations to the organizations for this fiscal year.
Thank you.
Moving on, the summary from the previous meeting is the Select Board moved to hold a hearing on the dog incident. The Select Board appointed Lynn Pancake to the Finance Advisory Committee. Richard was to follow up with Lynn and Sheila on that. And then in your emergency Select Board meeting, the Select Board closed town buildings to the public. I was just trying to note down the actions taken from this meeting. The Select Board approved the annual funds transfer. The Select Board approved amendments to the Dog Ordinance, as well as rescinded your previous action on the dog hearing, as well as approved sending a letter to the dog owners outlining the penalties, as well as the optional waiver if they choose to accept it. And I am to draft those letters and share with all Select Board members.
Well, you and I we'll draft it together and then we'll share it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for actions at the moment.
There's one more, the Guilford, Vermont. We need to bring up the subject of the Guilford, Vermont, the fire department's capital budget. We need to bring that up at a budget meeting about where to put that, or whether yeah.
That was already planned. So, but if you want me to include it in the minutes, I will do so.
Yeah, would you please?
Yes, sir.
Does finding new legal counsel count as an action
yes,
item?
that's true. Yeah, that's another action. Yep, getting a legal counsel to read the letter.
Okay.
Can we start with our old attorney and see who she recommends?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm happy to do that. Peter will do that.
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you. Now it's time, that jolly time of the evening.
But did we ever have a highway report, or is everybody just?
We did not have a highway report because Dan was on vacation, and I did not have an update from the other guys.
So do I have a motion to adjourn? Miranda says that motions that we should adjourn. What about you, Rusty? You want to second that?
I'll second it.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any discussion? She'll take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Thank you very much for a very constructive meeting, in the midst of which we heard some very good news, and I want to go to my news source and find that out. At least it's happy news for me. Thank you very much and have a good evening.